Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Jiu-Jitsu Times podcast. I am your host, Kevin Bradley, joined as always by my co-host, Kevin Gallagher, and a legendary blue chip guest, multiple-time Ultimate Fighter veteran, currently signed to the UFC in the strawweight division. And this is just my amateur guess. I haven't really looked into it, but I'm guessing just from the feelings I'm getting, possible Kage level shinobi of the Hidden Leaf Village. Roxanne, the Happy Warrior, Modafferi, thank you so much for coming on the show today. How you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
I am super excited to talk to you because I'm a huge fan of yours from a long time ago. So,
oh, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you were definitely a highlight on both seasons of The Ultimate Fighter, and it was really cool. It's incredible to have you. But before we get into any news, I think we all want to say a huge congratulations to your recent promotion to black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So that was really awesome. I was actually the guy that got to write about that, so that meant a lot. I got to do the post on Jiu-Jitsu Times.
I was like, oh, Jiu-Jitsu Times wrote about me. Oh my gosh.
it's not that cool.
Hey, you gotta stop.
It sounds cooler than what it is.
Kevin, you got to stop bringing the vibe of the showdown.
I'm sorry, but Jiu-Jitsu Times is a very valued peer article that we should all we were all very highly acknowledged.
So take us a little bit more into, you made a really cool post about it, but take us more into that day specifically. Like, how did it go? Like, what do you remember about the experience?
Well, Evan Dunham and Mike Pyle were like constantly reminding me that they were going to go to the open mat. And I'm like, why do you keep telling me that you're going to go to the open mat? Like, I was wondering when I would be promoted by who. Like, I try not to think about it because, you're not supposed to think about that and worry about it. Just keep improving, keep focusing on your technique. So it's fine. If I didn't, it was fine. And then I showed up and, we trained for a while. And, it's been like, I keep changing teachers, and so I really didn't know like my lineage and like who would promote me and all that stuff. So finally on the day of, we were training, Evan Dunham like paused open mat, which never happens, and he lined everybody up on the wall, and I was like, oh my god, there's no way this is happening right now. Don't think about it, it's fine, you don't need it, it's fine. But then, they started talking about me and how much I have improved and used my jiu-jitsu in fights, and then he called me up and I was like I could barely hear them, I was crying, and it was so cool. Like,
how long did you train overall before you got your black belt?
Like 16 to 19 years, like including judo.
Yeah, what do you think are some of the things that kept you from achieving that black belt? And the only reason, I'm asking this from the premise of other people that are out there that may be in the same boat that you are, that have been MMA fighters, that have just been like training weekend warriors for years and years and years, that don't really understand what it takes to get to that next level, to get to that black belt. What are some of the things that you think made you realize, okay, in order for me to really get better at the art of jiu-jitsu, I have to focus on X, Y, Z to achieve that?
Focus is exactly what it took. So when I went to Japan, I didn't put my gi on at all. Like, gi was not a part of my schedule just because I had to prioritize MMA. So I did a lot of no gi for a long time. And in order to be promoted in the gi, I wanted to do gi. So it was very important to me for me to have the skills in the gi. I didn't want to just train a bunch of no gi and then get promoted, right? So I recognized that. And also the level, I don't want to say level, the way I trained in Japan, I felt like I got better, but there was no coach hovering around me saying, Roxy, your open guard sucks, you need to focus more on open guard. It was like whatever they taught that day was something, and then the next day they taught something else, like just kind of like general, like I just didn't really focus on anything. I just kind of trained with everybody. So I feel like I got my competency in competition went up, but I didn't know a lot of moves, and I didn't,
Now, when you say competition, do you mean MMA competition or jiu-jitsu competition?
I didn't actually compete a lot in jiu-jitsu, so I would say MMA competition. Yeah. And then I was limited in what I could do there. So like I'm pretty good at an arm bar. because I go for it a lot, but waiter sweep,
Right.
Berimbolo and crab ride, like I suck at those,
So I guess the point I'm trying to make is because I'm a big proponent of this myself, because I have tons of guys that have been training jiu-jitsu under me or at my gym, that are accomplished MMA guys that still haven't even gotten their blue belt yet because yeah. So go ahead. I'm sorry. Did I cut you off? Yeah.
A little bit.
I'm sorry. I do it a lot. I apologize.
It's okay. It's okay,
Kev. I'm long-winded for this. So finally, when I decided, like, all right, I really want to improve my gi technique, I like canceled some sessions and I made the time to work in my gi, and I got private lessons. I said, Mike Pyle, what do I need to do to improve something? And he rolled with me and said, okay, let's improve your half guard passes. Let's improve your mount. So I started like taking private lessons and focusing on things like that. So I really had to focus on, various aspects of my game. And I asked my coaches and I got guidance. So finally, when I started spending more time on those things and like repping, then I started really evolving and I finally reached the next level.
That's 100%. And I think that, I'm sorry. What I was saying was that, I think a lot of young guys that I train with, the guys that aren't even young guys that have been around forever, that have just been training for years and years and years, that have never progressed past. At our gym, we have one test you have to take. You have to take actually 3 tests in order to get your blue belt. And it's just a basic understanding of 101 intro level, scissor sweeps, bump sweeps, all these other things, the 3 Wiseman. And we want to make sure that you guys have, that's the only test you ever take, those 3 tests to get your blue belt. Only time we test people.
I feel so self-conscious just because I know my scissor sweep is Kevin, you got to promise me not to take away my blue belt, man. All right.
But it's not a point of understanding how to complete it at a very competent level, because you don't learn that. You figure that out throughout the course of jiu-jitsu. It's just the idea of going through the process of showing that you care enough to learn about these basic fundamental techniques in order to get your blue belt, and then you can do whatever the hell you want to do. And like, I think the comparison I'm trying to make is that a lot of MMA fighters don't realize that by taking a few steps back and focusing on getting, because MMA jiu-jitsu and jiu-jitsu, to say they're different, they're different. You're fighting to protect yourself. You know what I'm talking about? But I think there's a big comparison a lot of time where MMA fighters believe that like they don't necessarily have to focus on getting better at jiu-jitsu, because as long as they understand what it matters to be proficient at jiu-jitsu enough in MMA to survive, they don't care about next level stuff. But what I believe is that as you begin to get better at jiu-jitsu, maybe you're never going to do a fucking scissor sweep in an MMA. Maybe you're never going to do a honey hole entry from half guard to sit back in a jiu-jitsu match. But but you might. But understand that you have that in your pocket makes your jiu-jitsu game better for MMA and vice versa. I guess it's I'm long-winded too, but that's kind of my opinion on it. Anyway, right? Sorry. It's cool. It's cool to have someone on like yourself that's been around for a while. So let's talk more about you. Don't let me talk.
Yeah. So back to sort of dovetail off what Kevin's saying. The specific way you train jiu-jitsu for your job as an MMA fighter. Do you see it as unique in your gym and your teachers, or do you see it replicated among your coworkers and your fellow fighters? Do they all train jiu-jitsu the same way?
No, actually. My head MMA coach, John Wood, he tends to be more of a wrestling based coach. So we do a lot of chain wrestling. And then Mike Pyle, who's an assistant coach, he's more of like a jiu-jitsu-y style guy. So I've been taking private lessons with Mike Pyle for like 3 years. So I try to take privates with him and then implement what he teaches me in the class. So that's how I've been able to like get better in that regard.
Now, where do you feel just because unfortunately we are a jiu-jitsu publication, where do you find that your game sort of shines the brightest on the mats? Do you have a specific style you like? Are you like a pressure pass?
Finally, like I didn't really know my game until recently. I'm really happy that I finally found my game, half guard passing and attacks from mount and arm bars from mount. Well, no, when I'm on the bottom, I tend to get arm bars, and when I'm on the top in the gi, I tend to get like chokes and then arm bars. Also the flower sweep. And spider guard. I'm trying to develop my spider guard now. I'm not.
I never had a big. I never got real good at spider guard just because I'm not a big grip guy.
Guard.
Yeah,
I know when I get there, my legs are long, and I get there, and then I'm like, I'm in spider guard.
Yeah, right. Now you don't know. You can maintain it pretty well, but it's the idea of actually trying to score off it.
So now I got some spider guard stuff, and I'm sweeping everybody. It's pretty cool.
Do you go for the wrists or the gi sleeve? Yeah, that's the move, like pistol grip. I'm very similar. You're preaching to the choir just because I love getting into spider guard because it feels like, for me, this looks cool. Like an observer would think, oh, I'm a real technical dude, and then they just step away and pass my spider guard. I'm like, well, that was fun for 5 seconds, and now I just got to get out of side control.
Do you feel like the training in the gi has also made your MMA game better?
Yes and no.
That's an interesting question because I asked that in two aspects. I mean that in an overall meaning of as your jiu-jitsu game has gotten better, and I also mean that if, for instance, you're training for a fight, do you feel like it's necessary or a waste of time to train?
I think it used to be, but I think now with all the evolution of MMA and jiu-jitsu, I think that sport jiu-jitsu and MMA are like, they've separated so much. I think certain aspects of it, like my guard retention has gotten a lot better when I learned how to keep my hips heavy and like open my feet and keep them on the elbows and all that. Like my guard retention's gotten better, which I learned in the gi. But I think not so much anymore.
Right.
Because you want to scramble up, when you're on the bottom in MMA, but it's fine in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. I work with fighters all the time, and one of the things I see the most, and it's hard because when you're dealing with MMA, you're dealing with, it's not like being a jiu-jitsu practitioner like myself and focusing on jiu-jitsu competitions is not so easy. It's not, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's easier than MMA simply because I don't have to dedicate my attention to different aspects of my martial arts game. All I can do is focus primarily on jiu-jitsu. So I can say these things like learning jiu-jitsu is great. You're going to get better. Dedicate your time because it's worth it. When you're doing MMA, you have to think about, 3 aspects of your game, 4 sometimes. If you're talking about your cardio condition, you got your wrestling, you got your striking.
I think it depends. For example, jiu-jitsu. Mike Pyle taught me the flower sweep no-gi, and boy, that's friggin' worked in a lot of my MMA fights.
Hooking up underneath the leg or posting with like a yeah.
So
I will definitely say, as someone who is actually, I started following you from your first season on The Ultimate Fighter. Positionally, it's a completely different game. You're much more, you seem much more mindful about where you are on the octagon and like how to get into a more advantageous position. I'm sorry if that sounds like a dick thing to say from like
no, that's completely accurate.
Yeah, no, it seems like I use this term from BJ Penn a lot, but it's like that. No matter where you are in a fight, if you came from somewhere else, you'll revert to that thing. If the shit's hitting the fan, like your home base. Like if you're a Muay Thai fighter, you're gonna revert to being a Muay Thai fighter. You're not gonna shoot a double leg. Do you find yourself reverting to jiu-jitsu and grappling when things are getting tough?
Oh yeah. Jennifer Maya it was like the last 10 seconds of our fight, and I was losing, and I freaking jumped guard and tried to armbar her. But I was losing, so I'm like, all right, I just jumped guard.
It worked for Dylan Dennis.
Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Kevin, when do you pull guard?
When do I pull guard?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, like I like to wrestle, but I also am wise enough and intelligent enough to realize when I'm not the better wrestler. So I will use that as a strategy to try to tire out the better wrestler and make, hand fight. When I'm not a very good wrestler, sometimes I'm what you'd call a very good wrestler. So in other words, like I was a decent high school wrestler. I placed at state my senior year, and I've been wrestling via my jiu-jitsu my entire career. I am not an elite level wrestler. And I'm talking about, Division I, freestyle national championship wrestling type mentality. So like, I can understand when I'm a very good wrestler and the guy across from me is an elite wrestler. And I understand that, I might be able to take this guy down, but I can sure as hell make his life hell when he tries to take me down. So I'm going to do everything in my power to make him feel like he's getting a takedown and make him work, hurt, when in reality I'm just trying to stand up. And then eventually when I say, okay, this is time, I'll just pull my guard and work from there. Or I'll just let him take me down and be like, all right, cool, you worked your ass off for it. And that's all a matter of depending on what I'm doing. If it's a points match, obviously I got to work harder for the takedown and stuff like that. But, that's generally where I stand with that. Was that a long question? I feel like I'm talking.
No, that's great. What I do is if I know I'm dealing with like if it's sparring and I know I'm dealing with someone that's like way better than me, I'll pretend to get a stomach ache and then go to the bathroom and then I'll just sort of chill out. Chris Noonan, a friend of the show, will like knock on the door and say, "Hey, you okay, bud?" And then I'll make some like noise and then I'll get to go home and then my ego.
I'm definitely not one of those guys that believes the if you pull a guard like God kills a kitten or something like that. I don't think that's. I really, honestly, when you watch a lot of like high level jiu-jitsu matches right now, I feel like there's so much emphasis on the takedown, even in sub only matches where it's like, dude, come on, bro. Like, neither one of you guys are really working too hard for this takedown. I mean, once you get to the takedown, what are you really doing from the top position? Is your jiu-jitsu competent enough? Let's just start to the action because this battle for a takedown in a 10-minute match and you're up.
Well, that brings up a question I was going to get to a little bit later. But Roxy, do you follow much professional grappling, like at the higher levels? Like, because I imagine some end up in your gym, like high level guys in pure jiu-jitsu anyway.
So I'm training all day long. The last thing I want to do is come home and watch some kind of fighting on my computer.
It's kind of where I'm at with it too.
I would watch it, if somebody showed me a video at the gym or if somebody sent me a clip or something like that. I just don't actively seek it out.
Okay, I only asked just because you see a lot of UFC fighters using like grappling super fights as a way to stay loose in between fights and maybe experiment.
I almost did that.
Yeah?
I was gonna do the submission underground, and then the
coronavirus
happened.
Oh, it sucks.
And
man.
everyone, my coach, my mom was like, "Don't go to Portland, Oregon right now."
No, stay away from Portland for a little bit.
Do you know?
I read an article today that Chael Sonnen said he was going to keep the submission grappling going.
Yeah, I saw that he put out a video. I don't know if that's.
I saw it. I felt bad.
Yeah.
I think they're going to invite me back, so I hope so. I really wanted to fight this girl, Amanda. Like, I got excited. I was like, oh, she's really good. I can't wait to test myself against her.
Oh, really? Was it going to be no-gi or gi or one of those weird tag team? Okay. Because I know they also do, like, we had Kyle Baim on the show. He talked to us about, like, the tag team rule set that Submission Underground sometimes uses. And that's, like, I like pageantry in MMA sometimes. I like it when they do crazy stuff. Like like, I don't know if you saw it, but Substars, before it was revealed that they were a Ponzi scheme, they had a big sumo fight with like some actual sumo wrestlers from Japan, and they had did you not know about that?
No.
Oh, so they had Rumble Johnson and Curtis Blaze fight two sumo wrestlers from Japan in a sumo wrestling match,
and not just sumo wrestlers, not like legit like world champion like Yokozuna.
No, they were high level Yokozuna,
very high level
in Japan. I think they were retired from professional competition, but Yama was like one of the guys was like the heaviest Japanese man in recording.
You probably know.
I covered the fight
in Japan, right?
Listen. I just, and this is the only time I would ever admit this because Roxy's on. One of my favorite anime / manga to come out recently is Hinomaru Sumo, which is a sports anime manga about sumo wrestling. And ever since,
I haven't seen that one. I'm looking.
It is so good. You need to, and also the OP is amazing. Oh God, I'm gonna.
Okay.
I feel like I'm outed for something.
When you nerds quit talking, wake me up. I'm just joking.
No, but when you really look at sumo, you see that there is a lot of technical prowess involved. Like they were hitting foot sweeps and they were fighting for grips on the Maui belt.
I think Robin Black did like a 1 minute breakdown of that once.
How good is Robin Black, by the way? That guy's amazing. He's the best. He's so good.
Bink.
He's so good.
Yes,
I just sent you a picture with me and that sumo guy, Kev, if you want to put it up.
Oh, okay. Hang on one second. I'm not sure I'm familiar with this gentleman, but
how long did you live in Japan, or are you back and forth?
Oh, Here we go.
There
I'm
you
not. I do
Here's-
not know if I
Here's-
recognize this guy. Do you know his name? Or
He is he was the big honcho. He was the guy that was like 700 pounds, 600 pounds or something. Like
oh,
that.
that's Yama. Oh yeah, that is Yama.
that's
He's the
Yama,
guy that
yeah.
fought.
Wow.
Yeah. And then there was another like national champion, 4-time national champion that was really small and weighed about 220 pounds.
He was a lighter weight sumo wrestler, but he manhandled Curtis Blade. It was he got like foot trips and
Of course.
we're so off
Of course he
topic.
did. That's his thing.
But yeah, that actually dovetails into the fact that you spent a long amount of time as an English teacher in Japan, right?
Mm-hmm.
At what point in your life were you stationed over there? Like, how old were you?
I went there right out of college, so like 22 or something, I guess, 23, 22, and then until the Ultimate Fighter season 18. So however old I was then.
So forgive
Wow.
me if I don't know your appropriate genealogy. And I know we promised we wouldn't talk about it, but what the hell? We don't want to talk about it now. So, were you involved in fighting prior to your trip to your time in Japan? Or was it something that you found out about in Japan?
No, I started in college when I was in America.
Cool. What did you do? Did you do some wrestling? You do some like sambo or something like that? Shoot fighting?
Google me, bro.
You actually won a Naga. You won a Naga, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
I did a lot of Nagas pretty much all 4 years that I was
cool.
in
Yeah,
America.
I'm only pausing just because I found a picture of the Substars event, and this is Anthony Rumble Johnson being picked up. He was picked up and placed outside of the ring, and it was the most surreal thing I'd ever seen. Like,
you could watch. It was funny
great.
because I was there, and when you were there, you kind of, I mean, even watching it live, you kind of figured it out. But it was definitely a work. Like, they had a 4-man tournament, and it was the 2 UFC guys and the 2 sumo guys, and they had a round robin type tournament. And then the winners obviously were the 2 finals were the sumo guys. But you could obviously tell that like the sumo guys are like, yeah, dude, like, look here, like Rumble Johnson and Ruben Blades, like, I love you, but
it seemed like
you have no chance of winning here. I don't want to hurt you.
Yeah, it seemed like they were so
Nice.
skilled to the
Yeah.
point that they could essentially, it was like a black belt rolling with a white belt. That's how it felt. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
toyed
gonna
with 'em.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
toy with you. You're not gonna get hurt.
That's funny.
Yeah, but something that came up a little while ago, and the primary reason I actually reached out to have you on the show is you have a very unique nickname. There's like 87 pit bulls in MMA. There's all these killers, and you are the Happy Warrior. It is currently a very unhappy time for not just Jiu-Jitsu, but MMA at large. You know, there's all this sadness because people can't train, and it's a bummer. And we just wanted to know how the Happy Warrior is keeping her trademark positivity during this obviously bummer time.
Goals. Okay, so most jiu-jitsu people know what it's like to accomplish something, to hit that sweep, to have goals, you know, skill goals, fitness goals. So I think what you have to do, even if you're in quarantine, especially if you're in quarantine, is set some kind of goal, whether it be any goal. It doesn't have to be jiu-jitsu related. So I'm so busy with training that I have a whole list of things in the back of my mind that I wish I could do, but I just don't have the time for. So the first day that I got quarantined, I cleaned my apartment, cleaned the whole thing. I swept the floors. I scrubbed my bathtub. I cleaned it. I went to bed that night. Dang, I accomplished that goal. Okay. The next day, I think I changed my wardrobe. So I brought out my summer clothes, put away my winter clothes. I accomplished that goal. I'm writing a 3rd book. I was like, I'm going to get 10 pages today, 10 pages. So I put my energy towards that goal. So instead of just sitting here like, man, like, this sucks. I can't train. I have all this energy. What do I do with it? I'm going to go punch the wall. You know, I made a goal and I put that energy towards it. So we can't stop ourselves from the thoughts. We can't stop the thoughts from coming into our heads, but we can replace them and redirect them. That's thought replacement. And that's something that I do and I learned before my fights and my matches. Like, oh, you're nervous. Okay, well, that's okay. But I know the guard pass. I know this. Like, you just replace it with the techniques. You fill your brain with other things because your emotions are controlled by the thoughts in your head. So I would say to those people out there, this is a very scary time. Maybe you're laid off from work. Like, okay, but day by day, try to make a goal, whether it be 100 push-ups. My friend just said 100 push-ups, 50 push-ups a day. Or, I don't know about 100, maybe 100 push-ups. or clean your house or cook something new. Like I've been trying new recipes. I've been reading my book. Make goals, and that'll give your brain something to focus on and try to stay at least not negative. Even if you're not super positive, at least you're not super negative. You know what I mean? So that would be what I'd say.
Yeah, well, I heard Jocko had I follow him on Instagram, and he had a pretty good one. Knows that Jocko is the SEAL guy. He had a pretty interesting post he put up about keeping a schedule and keeping a routine and trying your best to maintain that routine. And that's what I've been doing. Like, it varies here and there a little bit, but like for the most part, I wake up, I get some breakfast, I watch a little TV, then I do a little working out, then I take my dog for a walk, then I'll cook, and I try to maintain some semblance of normalcy. Or I'll just sit in my bed and play video games all day.
I wake up, go for a jog. I always jog and do yoga every morning at 7.
But that's funny, just because I wanted to say, I'm staying at home right now, quarantining with my folks while my siblings are out, and I love walking my 2 dogs every morning. Like, I love getting up early, feeding them, making sure everything's fine. And my dad actually tried to walk them a few days ago, and we almost got into an argument because I'm like, no, I need to walk the dog. Like, I need to keep the routine going. I need to keep the pattern stable. Like, the world's crazy right now, and I get to walk these guys, and they don't know it's crazy. And I think that rubs off on me a little bit.
That's cool, for sure.
Yeah. Also, dogs are great. Yeah, dogs are just a solid ad in this very turbulent time. Just because they'll still drink out of the toilet. They're not concerned about coronavirus.
Are you getting any legitimate training in at all? Any kind of pad work or mitt work or any kind of sparring at all in with some people?
Actually, yes, but I'm afraid to post about it because I know.
You don't want to be blasted for it, exactly.
I mean, it's early.
Well, I'm going to my coach's garage.
Right. Whoa. Yeah, Gordon Ryan, Tom Blast posted something today, and he took a lot of heat for it.
Yeah, I'm not walking into that one. Yeah, Tom ended up taking it down, so it's not a big deal. But nothing has happened that's kept people out of gyms this long. It's very surreal, and but it's always good to use time like this to reflect. I feel like a lot of people that were maybe going in half-heartedly once or twice a week are gonna, for at least maybe a little bit, go every day once their jiu-jitsu gyms are back open. And now we're gonna have to fight for mat space, but I'm happy that everyone is realizing how valuable it is.
I have something important to say.
Yep.
I hope that people don't cancel or freeze their memberships, because these gyms, like, we want them to be there when we get back there. Like, the gym owners are freaking out right now because, like, students are wanting to freeze memberships and not pay. I mean, I know people losing their jobs. It's so hard. I don't know. Like, I want to keep, paying my gym membership and supporting the gym, because when they open up, we're going to need a place to train, right?
Right.
I would like to just for a moment shout out one of my old coaches, Brad Wolfson of Soulcraft Jiu-Jitsu, and he's one of many. Like, I only say him just because he's the first to come to mind, but he is one of many coaches that are keeping all of their gym owners that are keeping all their coaches on payroll and making sure they get something during this time. Just because gyms, they're not just one guy owns them. A lot of times it's a network of people that are being supported by this thing. So yeah, to your point, sorry, I point to the wrong direction all the time, but to your point,
and just so people understand that a lot of small business owners, they're not. I mean, you're looking at it with large businesses. You look at the airline industry; they're only out of business for 3 weeks. They're already going under. Like, a lot of these small businesses, they can't afford to take a month off with no money coming in. They won't have their businesses when they come back. And if you enjoy jiu-jitsu and you want to be able to make it in there, you have to sacrifice so you have a place to train when these guys come back. And eventually the world will continue to turn. You want to make sure you got a place to train when it does.
Yeah.
Have you
has this period of hey, Kevin, I think you're getting a little feedback. Do you mind if
I keep muting it?
Do you mind if I try mute?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you mind if I try mute? Okay, I'll you can hear me though, right? Okay.
Is it me? Because I just plugged my phone into the wall because I'm running out of batteries.
Oh, I think it could be you. I'm
Without the
I just plugged it back in.
do you have headphones? The headphones make
Yeah,
a
but I
big
had to
difference.
take them out to
Oh,
charge
yeah.
my phone. So I have about
that's
5 minutes if you don't want any feedback.
iPhone has turned this into a prisoner's dilemma by removing the headphone jack. Just because you need to buy like AirPods in order to use your phone while it's being charged, or buy like an adapter. So it's
Well,
All right,
Apple
so
has
I'm
notoriously
gonna go.
hijacked the
Would you
world.
like 5 minutes of talk time with no interruptions, or would you like me to keep keep charging my phone?
Whatever, just keep it going. Screw it, ain't that bad. We'll keep talking.
yeah, no, I'll screw around with the audio a little bit if need be, but
Kev can fix that stuff.
yeah. I had to get. I went to school for this. Now I get to try and use it. But has this time ever, like, you literally wrote the book on staying positive? Has this time made you crack into?
RoxanneModafferi.net.
We will be sure to link that down below. In fact, I'm just gonna see if I still know how to do this. Boom! There we go. How to Be Positive by Roxanne Modafferi. Now, has this time period in the world ever made you crack open your own book to just sort of get inspired, or?
Stuff my mom says pretty much repeats the book because I was inspired by her. So, chat with my mom, she repeats this. I'm like, oh yeah, that was chapter 8. Oh yeah, that was chapter 10. Oh yeah, that was chapter 6. So yes.
Are we gonna get an updated cover with a black belt?
Oh, cool.
Just get a marker and fill it in when you buy it.
You murdering negativity demons, just like in a black belt. How to stay positive. Like, you're happy, but there's all murder surrounding you.
That's something I can ask you about. How did it take you? How do you approach writing a book? Of them, are you a professional writer? Do you have a writing background, or it's just something that you decided one day you wanted to write? Yeah,
I've always wanted to write as a kid, and I've been very strong at English, and I love writing. So I pretty much try to write what I'm inspired to write, and then I get it all everywhere, and then I go back and I organize it into some cohesive, usually halfway through writing it, I figure out like how I want the order to be, and then I start filling it in. Because it's hard to get
interesting. So you think it's just getting the chunks written out as quick as you possibly can. So it's more about outlining after, just getting the ideas down and then going back and reconstructing them.
That's what I like to do.
I like that. Just insights. I eventually would like to write a book too. I don't know what the hell I'm going to write about. I should use this time now.
If you could hand your manual for a positive outlook to one UFC fighter that you thought needed it, who would you hand it to? You can not answer, but
I don't know. I'm sorry.
It's just a 17.
No comment.
No, hey, that was a long shot. I just had to ask, but I've been holding off on asking this question, but I feel like I've been good and I get to ask it now.
Bring it on.
We are now well into a quarantine. A lot of people are looking for things to watch. What is your go-to anime list for a quarantine?
I want this too.
Yeah.
My Hero Academia.
Obviously.
And it's very positive. I mean, very inspiring. Of course, there's conflict, resolution, really inspiring. Just, man, I really relate to it as a fighter so much. Watch it.
Now, does you say run go with everything?
Say again?
Does you say run go with everything?
You say run.
That's the da 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 da. That's like when All Might ever does anything, the song that plays, like him versus.
I don't know, but I really like one of my favorite songs of all time is the theme song that was playing during the festival. Was it the festival when they?
Oh, you mean when Jiro is? Everyone's dancing and there's a concert.
No, it was one right before that.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure. I will try and find it and throw it up maybe.
I can't remember.
Oh no, I gotta watch it again. That's such a bummer.
Oh, I can tell you.
Oh, Hang on
Yeah,
one second.
no, I memorized it. Like I went and I looked up the lyrics because I can speak Japanese, and like I really wanted to remember, be able to sing along. It makes me happy to sing along.
Did you ever get to see Josh Barnett while you were in Japan?
What's it called? Oh, I can't see the name here. I don't know the title. Sorry.
I think I feel like I'm gonna get crap from my friends for not knowing the title.
My story is it? Find my story.
Find your
my
story. Yeah. Da 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 da. Okay. Oh man, it's just they just keep one-upping themselves. I'm more of a JoJo opening guy, but I definitely feel they're strong contenders.
My struggle. little different book.
Yeah, let's not. I think we're not going to link to that book. Personal. All right, so My Hero Academia. How about and two more if you have them off the top of your head.
That's much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put the earphones back in.
Cool.
40%. Dr. Stone is pretty fun.
Oh man, I felt like I learned more in the first few chapters than like all of elementary school, just because.
Dude, right?
They go deep into. Okay, so Kevin, for your information, Dr.
I'm here
Stone,
with you.
Everybody on Earth turns to stone except for like, and a few people wake up and essentially they got to restart humanity. But one of the guys is really smart, and so he's able to just slowly work his way up the technological ladder. Like he builds a cell phone, he builds like a bunch of stuff, and they take you through like how to do it, like the chemical stuff that needs to happen, and he's able to build this crazy stuff. Like he makes ramen.
I was Googling it, like, is this really what you do? And it's like, yeah, that's really what you do.
Oh man, it was like I was watching Cells at Work, and it's like the same thing. Where it's
so
like,
where do you find if I'm just a layman off the street that's looking to kill some time while I'm quarantined away? Where do I find these these anime series?
There's a secret website. I don't know if I can announce it.
Roxy, he's cool. He's cool.
I'm cool.
He's cool.
I don't want it shut down if it gets out there.
Okay.
They're gonna find it and shut it
All right.
down.
I'm gonna go ahead and say we all know which website you're talking about. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Maybe later.
If you wanted to, me a link later. You can watch Crunchyroll for free. There's ads, but it's pretty good in a jam.
Yeah, Crunchyroll's good. Go to Crunchyroll.
I'm surprised they haven't reached out to you for some sort of marketing deal, have they?
No.
That is money they are actively throwing into a furnace. Okay, so My Hero, Dr. Stone, one more.
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay, well, I'm just gonna say watch JoJo's.
Just go for those.
Bizarre.
My Hero is pretty good.
My Hero is so good. My Hero might be better than Naruto, and I don't want to offend by saying that. Wow. But
that's a bold statement. I have a journal idea who Naruto is and the gravity that he holds in the anime world. So that's a bold statement there, Cotton.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it plays out for him. Oh man! Now the last anime. Roxy. Oh no.
Oops.
Oh. Uh-oh. You still there?
Do you have me back? Yeah.
Yeah, we got you.
Can you see me?
Yeah. Right. I would love to ask what was the inspiration for the wig at weigh-ins? Was there?
I'm not allowed to say that because of the Reebok deal.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's just a yellow wig.
Okay, so the alien hero.
No.
Okay.
It represents my power level, is what I always say.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll bleep that.
No, everybody knows it, but it's like
I will bleep that out. I am very sorry about.
Wow,
that.
They consider.
Yeah, you can. I don't think any Reebok people are gonna watch this video.
Yeah.
But just for your information, if any fans want me to say that on camera, you watch Ariel Helwani's specifically asking me about it, I'm like, yeah, it's just my power level, but I'm not supposed to wear anything that's copyrighted. But it's just a yellow wig, so it doesn't really say anything on it. So it could be anything. So
they'll let Khabib wear that damn hat.
Oh yeah,
power level.
It's the same way Habib's hat represents his power level. Your wig represents yours.
Exactly.
That is totally it. Well, at this point in the show, I would like to ask if there's anything you could tell us about the future. And I know that with the UFC and MMA in particular, it's in flux right now. But do you have anything on the books in terms of fights, future plans, or has the virus just sort of?
The virus has grabbed us all by the throat and like squeezed. Right. So I was really hoping to fight Lauren Murphy because she called me out in the summertime. I was thinking International Fight Week, but I mean, because then JoJo, my teammate, is supposed to be fighting for the title in June. But man, like, who knows now? So I'm kind of glad that I don't have a fight set, so I'm not going to be stressed out. Hopefully this all blows over and we get back to it. I'm just right now I'm focusing on strength training. I'm doing it 3 times a week instead of twice a week, hitting mitts in my coach's garage with him, just trying to get better and not get fat and too out of shape.
Is strawweight a jump up in your normal weight class? Sorry, or your flyweight? Is that you know what? I'm embarrassed because I boxed my entire life, but I still get confused over the weight classes. Is that you coming up or you going down in the weight class to get to that weight?
My first half of my career, I was bantamweight, which is 135, and then I dropped to flyweight, which is 125. So I've been happy at flyweight now. I've been getting muscle though, so it's getting harder and harder to make it, but I still always make weight. Yeah.
So is that something that's closer to your natural weight walking around at 125?
I don't walk around at 125. No, I used to walk around at 140. Now I'm walking around at 140. Well, then it was 142, and nowadays I'm walking around at 144. Right. It's getting like hard to cut the weight. Man. But I think a lot of fighters are running into that with just gaining more muscle with more training and stuff.
Yeah, if you could do it smart, you get that muscle on, and then you're stronger when you fight. It's always that kind of like in between. Do I want to put that much muscle on, or I want to stay to an area where it's easier for you to make the weight? You kind of find that magic number. But that's cool. I've been lifting a lot, and I think that anymore in today's modern era, if you're not making yourself in the best athletic shape that you possibly can be, then you're just not doing yourself what you need to do to be successful. I think the days of like just being a martial artist and competing at the UFC is behind us. We're getting legit world-class athletes that have to train like world-class athletes in order to even step in the ring to even be in contention.
Exactly.
Right.
Actually, that's something, just because when you really look at your career, you've been in this sport for a long time. Have you noticed any sort of rise in the caliber of not skill, but like athlete? Roxy, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I messed up. Say that one more time.
Oh, I was just saying, like, it within the time you've been competing, I think it's 40 fights, right?
45.
Sorry about that. Have you noticed any sort of rise in the quality of athlete that you're fighting?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. That's why I started losing all my fights when I was like in Japan. My last several years, I dropped to 125, and I just felt weak and not good because I wasn't doing any physical training. And then when I moved back to America and I started learning how to cut weight differently and do more physical training, then I was able to keep up, and I think I've caught up.
Yeah, the science of fighting has come eons over the last 5 years, like eons and eons. We're breaking free from kind of the old school boxing mentality of trying to break your body down and then building and then putting yourself in the worst possible condition. I think guys are starting to realize, no, bro, like you need to keep yourself healthy because MMA is hard on your body. If you're not keeping yourself healthy, strong, then you're doing yourself a disservice. Mm-hmm. Well, Roxy, I know you got to get going, and I appreciate you coming on because I had a little freaking like excitement just getting to talk to you, man. It was pretty cool.
Kevin, you can admit it. You fangirled out, but
I did fangirl out. I totally did. I have a little freaking MMA crush on you there, Rox. It was nice to have you on. I've known you forever. I was a fan of yours from the Ultimate Fighter days. I'm glad I got to talk to you. So this is cool.
Thank you so much, you guys.
No, for sure.
Kevin, she won't come back if you don't leave her alone. Come on.
I mean, no, but can I slip into your DMs?
Okay,
show me some good jiu-jitsu moves.
Yeah, exactly.
I like jiu-jitsu.
Hey, listen. 100%. You're talking to a 3-time IBJJF Masters champion.
Brown belt. What's up, big deal?
Hey,
That is the
Good job.
first time you've ever downplayed your championships. You're
I'm
insane.
talking to a legend. I don't want to. I don't want to.
All right. Well,
I
I can personally say this has been a very positive experience. Some of the episodes recently have taken a bit of a dour note just because of how it is a really uncertain time. And it's definitely a good time to remember those positive lessons and remember that even if we can't do it right now, we all found a really great hobby. We all found a really great thing to throw ourselves into and become passionate about. And that it'll be there for us when we get back, you know?
Exactly. If you support your school.
Yes, that is I'm really happy that the Jiu-Jitsu Times has been really big on advocating that. We've written Avery Clemens, our wonderful leader and boss and czar of the Jiu-Jitsu Times next to Kit. She's put out a ton of great articles about supporting your local schools and all the great efforts that are going on. So, and she is also a big fan of yours. So she's saying hi from wherever she is.
Hi.
And Roxy, I would I hate to ask more of you, but if you could, do you have any closing words for all the people without a place to train and sort of just not being positive?
Smile and carry on. Because the alternative is don't smile and carry on.
I like that. It's a very good. It's a very good answer. Very simple question to a very simple answer to a complicated question.
All right. Well, this has been the sunshine, rainbow, positivity, power hour special of the Jiu-Jitsu Times podcast. If you entered the day feeling a little bit down, I want you to exit the day feeling a little bit perked up because we're cheering for you. I have been your host, Kevin Bradley, joined as always by my co-host, Kevin Gallagher, and MMA legend, Roxanne Modafferi. Roxanne, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And we will see you next time.
Woo!
Woo! Plus Ultra.
Yeah, plus Ultra.